further delay, I'm going to begin this session. First, just give you a quick brief about what we're going to talk about. And as we know that, in this world, the digital space has been devised for literally each and everyone. And it's definitely not unnoticed that, the regional content bit has been booming like anything. The viewership, the pop culture mentions, it's going crazy. It's everywhere. So I would just like to, invite Sarang and Paula. Sarang, who's the founder of Bhadipa. Bhadipa is a regional YouTube channel which churns out fresh content that resonates with the viewers. It's amazing, how you guys come up with such great regional content. Then we have Devyani, who's be the moderator for this session. She's the founder of DP House of Media, and this is, as it is named, an unfiltered conversation talking about how Bhadipa, came across the regional content boom, what are the challenges they faced. So, I can't wait to deep dive into this. Also, guys, just a quick heads up for everyone in the chat, you'll be able to put up your questions in the Q&A. Feel free to put up any comments that you want in the chat. And we'd love to hear from you on all our social media handles. You could tag us, you could mention hashtag next big creator, and we'd love to hear your feedbacks. So without any further ado, giving my mic to Devyani and Sarang. Paula. Great. Best of luck, guys.
Thank you, Nandini.
Thank you, Nandini. And it's a pleasure to host you today, Paula. You have been amazing in terms of creating Marathi content and kind of bringing it to a stage where it is noticed early on, when even Instagram or Reels were not there. So I am really excited to know about your journey, and so are the viewers. So let's begin with our unfiltered conversation. Would you like to say something to our audience?
First of all, I'm so thoroughly impressed by the way this session is happening, because I've done online sessions in the past, and I think this is the most smoothest one that I've been part of. You guys have done a fantastic job with the interface that we see here, and the way everything was coordinated, and it's quite. I love the interface of this whole session. So I'm glad that we were invited in this session.
Yeah, it's really great to see all of the amazing panelists and to have a chance to have a conversation with Devyani. We're really excited for the session.
Thank you so much. And it's due to the collaboration we had with Pepper Content, and because of the large community we are working on. So it's amazing. So I want to start with Marathi first. So, आपण Marathi आहात. Paula is Canadian, and Anusha is Tamil.
Yes.
हे combination कसं जमलं आणि vision काय होतं मागचं?
So we three met on a film together. एक film पुण्यात shoot होती, and we all three come from filmmaking background. I used to assist on film and do theater. Anusha and Paula are film school students, and they were fresh out of their film schools. Anusha was assisting this director in Pune, and Paula had been to India a few times for some other research work, and she ended up meeting the same director. And for the same director, I was casting for his film. I was the casting director. And it happened to be that one day, Paula was coming from Canada, and Anusha and I were in Bombay, and we came to know that she's here. And they said, like, Mumbai tahat tar dadar titila sa, and pick up Paula. So we took a cab together, all three of us. And in that cab, the kind of conversations we had about cinema, about life, everything, we just realized that we three have similar choices. And since then, it has been a journey. Like, since then, we have done everything. We've shot weddings, we have made ad films, we have started a channel, we have lived together in a house for 1.5 years. We have ran behind our cats. So we have been together so much that we sort of found a rhythm together. And Marathi happened accidentally. We were at one of these kind of sessions when they used to happen in person. Those days, pre-pandemic days. And so we were at Fiki Frames in Mumbai, and which is about the business side of the whole content creation and films and theater. And Paula and I were attending 2 sessions, and one session was about the digital movement that was happening in India with AIBs and TPFs being reaching out to bigger audiences. And on the other hand, there was a conversation about how massive digital penetration is going to happen in India via 3G. 3G was just coming in, and Airtel, Jio, Idea, Vodafone, all of them were on the panel discussing what is going to be the next big market. And next big market was 2 tier and 3 tier cities. So it made quite like it was very very easy to derive from it that okay, someone now starts needs to get into regional content.
Correct.
So Paula here, she made a business plan on her own. she should be able to tell you how she arrived there. And we're like, okay, it's because no one is producing Marathi digital. Why don't we start it? And that's
Correct.
how it all started.
So I want to ask Paula one question. That you were familiar to film production and everything involved in making film, storyline, everything. And you were also familiar to the YouTube culture, everything outside of the country and here as well. So how did you choose Marathi content? Like how did that feeling come into you that let's go for Marathi industry? Because I'm sure it was completely new at that moment for you.
Yeah, I had just been living in Pune for a year with Sarang and Anusha at that time when this idea struck us. We had already started Gulbad and Talkies to produce. The dream was to produce films, but to get going, we started off with wedding shoots and shooting events, and making small videos for that. And the idea of Marathi was a combination of living and working in Pune, where we had access, because of Sarang's theater and film connections, to some amazing talent in the Marathi language. I also got exposure to Maharashtrian history, to the literature, to the theater culture and films. And in combination with that, when we were at this conference, the idea kind of struck that, okay, how many people actually speak Marathi out there in the world? And at that time, it was around 85 million speakers. And today, I think, including second language speakers, it's around 101 or 102 million speakers. So that number is actually quite big for me as a Canadian. And if to put it in context, the population of Canada is only 33 million people. So when I took a look at Marathi language, it was obvious that it was a huge market, bigger than Canada, more than three times the size of Canada. And I saw it as a great, huge market. Everybody that I spoke to at that time said, why Marathi? Why are you going regional? Why don't you go big? Why don't you go Hindi? But there was just so much clutter in that space at that time already. And we thought, we have great talent in Marathi. There's nobody else doing it right now. Why don't we get in and support it? Because at that time, films and television in Marathi were quite limited in terms of the subject matter, the treatment. It was quite old school in general, the commercial stuff. And we knew a lot of people who were watching international content. Game of Thrones was really big at that time. And we thought, if Maharashtrians are accepting and watching Game of Thrones and watching with subtitles, why can't they watch something in Marathi in their regional tongue and enjoy that as well?
Yeah, and not just Game of Thrones, like even on YouTube, in the YouTube space, or like in small sketches space, we were accepting everything as Maharashtrians, and it's just that none of us was putting, and it happens, right? That you always expect someone to start it, then there should be a proof of concept, and then the rest will follow. And as we were waiting in line to follow someone, no one was popping up, so we just decided to step up and
दुसऱ्याला करून बघू दे, मग आपण मग चालतंय का नाही चालतंय त्याच्यावर पुढचं ठरवूया.
So we like to insert, like some people call us like as pioneers in Marathi, but we instead think that we are the pathfinders. Like
look, Rishikesh Lokapur is yes. Hi, Rishikesh.
Okay, so Sarang, I would like to ask you. Shakespeare had नावात काय असतं किंवा नावाचं महत्व काय असतं की भाडीपा किंवा आपले कुठलेही आतापर्यंत जे शो केले आहेत त्याचं नाव पॉवरफुल आहे, फार स्ट्रॉंग आहे. त्याच्या मागचं काय विजन होतं?
So, one logic was today's generation consumption overall attention span कमी होत चालला आणि ते कमी. The reason why attention span is less today, it's simple. You have so much information bombarded towards you every day than what it used to be. मला आठवते माझ्या लहानपणी I didn't know so much about the world, about anything. आणि when I grew up, suddenly there was bombarding of information and you are storing that information. So your attention span is so less that in the first impression itself, you need to make them understand what you exactly represent. So तर त्याच्यामध्ये thought was always की first impression should be तगडं. आणि so we started first company that which owns Bhadipa, Vishakhul and Bhatupa as brands. The parent company is called Gulbadan Talkies. And the idea was ki why is Gulbadan Talkies different than any other company that is out there? Because production houses, आम्हाला एकाने एक analogy दिली होती की production houses are nowadays in India like pawn shops. चौकात उघडतात. So we are like, okay, but we should be the unique panwala then at least. Like if you're calling us panwala, let us be the most fire pan. So like what can be the brand? And the idea was that whenever people work in Gulbadan Talkies, they should, like in our company, they should feel like they are part of a Shammi Kapoor song.
Yes.
So we are like, because we do want, obviously we go through stress, a lot of people go through anxiety, everything happens. But say if it is 50% in other companies, we keep it to manage it to like 65-35 at least. Like 65% is fun and 35% is anxiety. At least we have got there, and we slowly want to raise this bar. So when we were doing that, we were like, okay, which is our favorite Shammi Kapoor song? And we started singing a Gulbadan song. And we were teasing Paula, calling her Gulbadan. And that just stuck with all of us. And then we thought, why not Gulbadan Talkies? Also, companies like Bombay Talkies, which was started by Maniratnam, RGV and whatnot, had a huge influence. Madras Talkies has an influence. So the Talkies word had stuck with us. And at that time, we wanted to make films.
Correct.
So that's how Gulbadan Talkies. And Bhadipa was like when we did when we decided to go Marathi, we also didn't identify ourselves as only local regional players.
Absolutely, correct.
When Bahubali releases, they don't intend to release it only in Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
They release it across the world, across the nation, everywhere. So we thought like as we are representing Indian language,
correct.
Let's call ourselves Bharatiya first. Let's start with Indian representation, though it's a Marathi channel.
That's a beautiful thought. That's a beautiful thought.
Yeah, because you shouldn't be like भाषेचा प्रसार आणि प्रचार तेव्हाच होतो जेव्हा ती आपल्या भाषेच्या पलीकडची लोक स्वीकारतात.
Correct.
So if like I in one of my speeches had said like deja vu as a word everyone uses in every language and it's a French word. And that's the beauty, like that shows the power of French language, that it has reached ki deja vu माझी आई म्हणते यार मला अगदी deja vu सारखं झालं. So that's the power of that language, and why not do that? So Bharatiya. And then abbreviations are utmost important because nowadays we speak in that, like ROFL, BRB, and BTS. Everyone has
another specific language.
So Korean language, again, Korean and Marathi speaking population is almost similar, and it's huge. So why not have abbreviations which are easy to follow? And from there came Bhadipa. That's a short form.
We also wanted to have a Marathi hashtag.
Yeah.
Devyani hashtag is important to us.
That's beautiful and it's very creative to think in that manner. आणि असे नावं एकदम होऊन जातात म्हणजे आपण करत बसायला गेलो किंवा आपण एक बोर्डवर केलं तर इट्स नॉट रिअली पॉसिबल. So Paula, I would like to ask you that you are the master craftsman of viral content and you have been consistently doing that since many years and it's not easy to get yourself to that level where it's continuously a process where you're giving out great content. So how do you manage the process, because I'm sure there might be operations involved, commercials involved, so how did you plan it all?
Well, first of all, I have to say I am not the mastermind behind the viral content. That is 100% Sarang. I have to also give him credit that like every single piece of content that's taken us another step forward has been Sarang's idea entirely. So he is the brain behind the content and I'm the brain behind the business. And so when it comes to how do we manage to execute virality within a business context, that was something that when we decided to get into digital content, it was a transition that we made because we wanted to be in charge of it. We felt like we knew what was going to go viral, what was going to work, and we were tired of brand servicing, doing videos for brands for their channels, and them telling us what's going to go viral. We would get a call saying, oh, it's Women's Day. We want to do a video for Women's Day. We'll make that video and give it to them. And then they'll tell us that, punchline has to happen in the first 10 seconds. Otherwise, people won't watch it. And you're like, it's a 3-minute video. You can't get the punchline in the first 10 seconds. And we got tired of explaining that to people. And we said, if we have our own channel, we will be making the content which will work. We'll be directly talking to our audience. And it'll be so damn good that the brands are going to pay us to be on our channel instead of the other way around.
Correct.
Us, that was an equation that in terms of business made more sense to us, since all three of us come from creative backgrounds and the creatives is where we really have our strength. So having a creative first business made a lot of sense. And in terms of how we work, I actually think that we've been very particular since the beginning of starting this business that we started with a business plan 1 year before we even launched the channel. And everybody who's worked on our content, they have been paid for their services. A lot of, when we started off, with Ame and Nipun, we got them to sign releases, saying that, we have permission to use your likeness and your performance, in whatever formats we wanted to. And having that professional approach towards making the videos for us has, I think it's really
in long run it has
saved
helped,
us in the long run. Because I think as something takes off, we didn't really take off until after the first 2 years. And after that happened, our relationship with everybody was very clear. And, there was a lot of goodwill because we were always very straightforward with everybody as to what we expect from them.
And just to add on to that, like there were trends at that time, though there was no Instagram and like everyday trend that you have to literally chase every morning, see what is happening. But at that time, still there were trends, YouTube trends, like for example, honest Indian something, or like that was trending, and everyone was doing those videos. But we came up with ideas like Apल्या Bapacha Hotel, or we came up with casting couch. We didn't want it to just follow trends. We wanted to put our voice there. It might have trended, it might not have trended. There was a risk, as you said. Especially on commercial level, there were big risks, but we are in here to play the long game. We didn't want it to be like a small time, like a celebrity who disappears, like without any sort of commenting on it in a bad way. But we all remember ki Gaurav Geda, he did that shopkeeper Hanji Benji. So that thing, I used to love it. But after 6 months, it disappears because you get. So you have to keep on reinventing yourself. And I love what they did, but that's what is the issue with the trends. So we always focused on a long-term planning.
And I think it's wonderfully worked for you. And one thing which I really found unique is that Instagram has come right now, or it's relatively fresh, or reels, or that short form content is relatively fresh. But you
Right.
thought about the collaborations the other way around, where brands will come to you. So that was relatively new in your era, or the few years ago.
Right.
So that was very unique and fascinating to know that you thought about it, and now it has been the game changer. So everybody has been implying on that kind of concept. So hats off to you both for doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. So my next question to Sarang is that you did Casting Couch, that worked wonderfully well, and it was amazing. But then you both kept reinventing yourself by getting into more short form and these kind of scripts and concepts like I Anime and Miss Manners that are also so popular. So how do you keep thinking and reinventing your thought process?
I think I myself get bored of things. That's the main thing. Like after a point, like right now, if we keep on doing I and me, we will feed our office. Everyone will get bonuses every month. But if we keep on doing that, we ourselves are going to one day hate what we did. That how much we pulped out of this one piece of content.
Correct.
So honestly, I personally feel it is upon the people. Like for example, few people like there are shows like say CID or on TV, or there are shows like Ulta Chashma, which have ran for ages, and some people have that capacity of doing that every day, and it's great if they can, because someone has to do that. Someone has to make. ज्याला आपण म्हणतो ना staple diet and like बाहेर जाऊन खाणे. So there are people who can make that staple diet, and they should keep on making that. It's absolutely fine. But there are people who make. I'm not saying gourmet food because that's not what we identify with. We don't want to be a niche, but we want to keep on having reinventing our menu. Is the point. So on personal level, I get bored of my own content, and I feel like let's change it. With I and me specifically, there is a story behind it. When we started doing really good content, still brands were a little apprehensive about what we are doing. And then we were like, what do they look into? At that time, they didn't used to look into numbers, blown up numbers. They used to look into engagement and convergence. So we were like, okay, how does the conversion happen? So if you have right kind of an audience, then the conversion happens. And so we started looking into scripts which will have more female representation. One, secondly, it should also target the community which actually shops. And like to our understanding, most of the F&B industry is dependent on mothers for shopping. It comes from a very patriarchal understanding. I know that, but that's the truth of the society right now. And so if mothers are shopping and they are the ones who are going to pick up the F&B products, is there anything out there which represents them? So there was nothing, not just in Marathi, but even in Hindi, English. Like there were tech talks with dad, which was quite popular on TVF. There were other shows which were targeted so much towards men, and we realized that okay, we have two women founders in the company. Both of them are so good with storytelling, and we are still making content which is around only men. So how can we change this? So with that understanding, we started looking into scripts, and fortunately, very dear friend and very important person to Bhadipa, Varun Narvekar, he's one of the key persons in the digital brand films in Marathi, and he had written one script for mother and son, which got rejected by a brand. And funnily, we thought like, no, this is what is going to get brands to us. So we are like, he's like, oh, you are looking for something like this. Why don't you try this? And we tried it. And that reinvention helped us so much when we broke out of that idea of just serving man as a key audience. Most of the content creators have 70-30% ratio. And we are proud to say that Bhadipa is 50% men and 50% women.
Amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so and also I would like to highlight over here that you've also taken different age groups. It's not just to related to one age group. So casting couch is different, then Miss Manners is different. So that is also one of the unique aspects of this shows what you have conducted. So my next question is to Paula. You also have other two channels. One is Bhatupa and there is Vishay Khol. So that's another segment and another diversification which you've started. So how is it like? How was it?
Sorry, just before going ahead, I think I have been said that you cannot see me.
No, it's been updated.
Okay.
Yeah. What happened when we started Bhadipa is we always had a plan of having multiple channels. Right back, see, our channel started in 2016, and the business plan was in 2015 that we were going to be in comedy, we were going to be in travel and food, and we were going to be in the third category was music. Now, at that time, we didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to break into a music industry, especially a non-existent one, when we already were breaking into like a non-existent regional digital industry.
Also, to be fair, music industry is quite cutthroat. Like
It's
we all know
very
that. Yeah.
And it's changed a lot with Spotify and different streaming platforms. So we're still not there yet. But 1 year after starting Bhadipa, we knew things were going well, and we had met some photographers who were doing a lot of fort vlogs and videos called Ranvata. And we saw their content, and Sarang had met these guys, and we thought, why don't
they had provided us footage for our first song actually when we were planning to get into music, Maharashtra Desha. So we wanted drone footage, and we had approached them, and so
so they took amazing footage, and we said, why don't you give us the rights to sort of repackage your videos in like shorter format, and we'll start off with our travel and food channel. And that was started May 1st, Maharashtra Day. And that was how we made a bank of travel videos and short documentaries with some other makers. And we knew that there was going to be a demand for Marathi traveling content. And till date, some of the most successful stuff that's been on Bhatupa, the travel channel, is our forts and
Maharashtra series.
Travel videos. That and the cooking show Ai Chahatsa, which of course taps into the same emotion as I and me, Maharashtrians and their mothers and food. I mean, what can go wrong? The third channel actually came out of a strange opportunity. We had been given this idea to do town halls with different politicians and youth across Maharashtra. And someone just kind of threw this idea in our laps, and we thought, with the 2018 national elections coming up, it would be really cool to
have town halls,
connect Maharashtrian youth with the politicians who they're going to be voting for. We also felt that there was a huge disconnect between young Maharashtrians and the politicians, and there's a lot of dissociation, like, oh, I'm apolitical, I'm not into politics, because of the way it's portrayed in mass media. So we wanted to come up with a plan to bridge that gap. And at the same time, no brands were going to come close to us, because brands didn't want to associate with political content, and it was only going to be politics. So we then approached platforms, and YouTube had coincidentally, and have been running for many years now, this Google News Innovation Fund, which is a publicly accessible grant for any creators who want to use YouTube for news and political related content. So we applied for this grant for the program, and it's a 1-year grant, which just supported us in starting this new channel, Vishay Khol. And Vishay Khol actually happened because we knew that in terms of name, after the elections were going to finish, we did want to talk about a whole bunch of other things apart from just politics. Correct. So since the elections finished, we have moved on. We've been talking about social issues, general information, and education. And that channel has been a really interesting journey.
That's also because, and why we decided to move away from politics and news is because by then other Marathi news sort of channels and whatnot got picked up really well, and we don't have that bandwidth to run it like a news channel. Like for example, BBC Marathi, Lokmat, and all these guys are doing such fabulous job, and they put out content every hour. So then it's better to be in a space which is untapped, and the space was information, pure information. So that's where we are at with Vishek Hole.
So it was very like a good combination of lifestyle and then information, and also, in 2018, when rightly said by Paula that the political campaigns and everything, no digital groups would like to associate, but you kind of bridge that gap. Right now, it's very the whole transformation into the digital spaces started off, but it was very relatively new for even the politicians to use social media for any of their purposes. So that was a great risk, I would say, which he had taken, and it was successful. And I really like Vishai Kole also. I would like to ask Sarang one more question, that you also started Marathi stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And you both have been managing offline shows and also working on the online platforms which you've already built. How difficult is, and how do you plan this whole thing? Because it is so diversified, yet every other element which you've added has worked wonderfully for you.
It is tiring actually more than anything. It's not just this. We have done the first ever Marathi cipher. Like hip hop culture, we tried to promote for a while. Then they are on their own now. They are doing amazing work. Then we have done Marathi stand-up comedy. We have done Marathi live big events which were not happening. So there are too many things that we put our like sort of focus into. And now it's getting tiring slowly. Nowadays, we get a call saying that let's start slam poetry in Marathi. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like, send me the ticket link. I'll buy a ticket. I don't want to get into it. So this is endless. But that happens because as I earlier said, if you are a pathfinder, then people expect you to do that. With stand-up comedy, what happened was I was fortunately doing a play called Stand Up, in which I was acting as a stand-up comic. I wasn't doing stand-up comedy. And I got exposed to a lot of stand-up comics through that. While doing that, our CFO or CA, Aditya Desai, he is CA to the entire stand-up comedy industry. So he kept on saying, there are so many Marathi comics. Why don't we start something? So it was 1 year anniversary for Bhadipa. We are like, okay, at least let's put up one show. And I said, who all are there? And only he turned up. So we are like, okay, we'll do one show with you. And then after that show, suddenly 5 more people approached saying that we are okay to do it in Marathi. We are Maharashtrians. We've been doing it Hindi. And actually our comfort zone is Marathi. So why don't we try it? So we put up one show. The length of that show was coming to hardly 55 minutes. And it had to be at least 1 hour show. And that's how I took up stand-up comedy, because I hosted that show and I wrote a few jokes. That show really did really well, and we put up a snippet from it, and we just realized that people are just waiting on the borderline again, exactly like how it happened with Casting Couch. They're just waiting on the line to jump on the other side as soon as someone starts it. And so initial 2 years of Marathi stand-up for us was one of the best experiences. We were doing full house shows. We were just we had to do batches of comics. So it was called Secret Marathi Stand Up at that point, because we weren't sure whether it's going to work or not. And it used to happen quite secretly. There used to be these rooms where all comics used to be brought in. We used to discuss what is going to be offensive for Marathi audience, how we are going to defend it, how we'll deal it legally, because we didn't have any legal support at that time. So we used to secretly plan everything and put up shows. So we had 3 batches of SMS, Secret Marathi Stand Up. And then after that, the community was built and we signed a bunch of comics. I think there were two big hiccups where we got really bothered by it. One is that Marathi is an extremely competitive space for no reason. There will be only three players and they'll start competing with each other, which is very strange. That I keep on telling this everywhere, that actually digital is all about collaborations. You
Absolutely.
will never see a Unique, a Prajakta, the first generation content creators. You'll never see them fighting amongst each other. In fact, they are there for each other always.
Correct.
We like Beer Biceps and Ashish Chanchlani, they are always there for each other.
Yes.
But in Marathi, what happens if you don't give attention to one person, that person will say, like, go out and say, like, I'll start my own and I'll show you what it is. And it's just no, we didn't have the bandwidth to sort of get everyone together. So there was good 6 months when it was extremely competitive and heartbreaking and poaching was happening and whatnot. But eventually it all settles down. And the second hit we got from COVID, of course, because live shows ended. And performing, like, this interview is fine, but if you are performing live and you are not seeing your audience, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So we had a really bad phase, from full house shows to people quitting comedy. But now that this all has ended, we are running full house shows every day. We have 3 shows this weekend. Right now, evening, there are 2 shows. Tomorrow evening, there are 2 shows. So it's like, again, it has bounced back, and I hope that it stays like that.
And you've also started a long format series called Pandu.
Yeah.
So what are the challenges and experiences that I would like to know from both of you about it?
So our aim always was to get into long format. That's where Bhadipa's core is. Like, we are long, like Paula and I, we love consuming long format content, and Anusha is a filmmaker at heart.
Correct.
That's what we want to do eventually, but with the modern sensibilities. So we always wanted to do long format. Pandu is our like, it's come from our blood and sweat. Absolutely. Like, it we have done it in a budget that a Hindi show will get for an episode. We have done 2 series in that. Literally, I'm not lying. So we have done every possible jugaad to make it happen, because we wanted.
That's not easy. That's not easy. I completely understand from where you're coming. So.
Yeah. No, like, I might get arrested for this, but we have like, when Bharat Bandh was happening, we purposely shot our Bandh episode so that we don't have to do artwork. So without permission. So that's the kind of sort of we have, like, the jugaad we have done to get there. But that was the idea, to get into long format. After Pandu, we did Shantit Kranti on Sony. And now we in line there are all, and then Chikat Gonde 9 to 5 and whatnot, and now there are in line almost
we have 3 shows which are like at different stages of shooting and post-production right now,
and 6 in development.
So, and there's many more which are, we've hired writers, we're developing, we've got a huge bank of stuff which is ready to get out there.
4 films.
Yeah. But just as a proof of concept, how, the plan for us was always to do Marathi series is Shantit Kranti, which came out in 2021 August. We have presentations for that show that go back to 2014. Because since 2014, we were writing and developing this show, Shantit Kranti. The characters were always the same. The plot changed here and there. And we almost made it on our YouTube channel. We came really close with a brand partnership, and it fell apart at the last minute. And then it was another 3 years before we got another chance to make Shantit Kranti. And having the base of YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and the audience that we've developed over the years, we cannot state how important it's been for us to be able to finally get these opportunities, because we've got the support of these Marathi audiences. We've also been able to prove that there is a demand for different voices in Marathi content, and for us, that's.
And also, we wanted to make a
crucial.
point that crime and thrillers, like the whole angle of OTT game, that sex, drugs, and crime is what works. We wanted to defy that too. So that was another difficulty added to the fact that we are making Marathi content. Like we are making Marathi content, and it doesn't involve sex, drugs, and crime.
Exactly.
It's like, why are you doing
Yeah.
it?
From a production perspective, Paula, I would like to ask you, because we have also been trying to get into this space, or trying to struggle, or get some opportunity. And how do you manage the commercials well in hand, or how do you manage the whole inflow outflow of funds which are required? Because it is immense. It is not easy to kind of sustain that, and especially in unprecedented times. And sometimes I have got an answer personally that, oh, you're doing Marathi content, and the Hindi or the English space is much larger. So the opportunities are good. So right now, just hold up on Marathi and just try to do Hindi or English. But yet you have been very firm enough in kind of bringing everything out and distributing it in a right manner or in a right funnel. So how do you do it?
Well, the first thing I think is just taking a look at the numbers. If we come back to the initial idea of, Marathi audience being 3 times the size of Canada, the English market in particular, 6 years ago, was quite strong in India because it was a very classy market, and people who could speak English were watching English content. But as soon as this internet penetration happened in India, and less urban centers were getting access to streaming platforms, Hindi and regional languages has been the number one driving factor in growth in the entire industry across the country, and English consumption has reduced drastically. In fact, English content consumption is, I would say, probably in decline. In terms of the percentage of people accessing it compared to other languages, English has definitely declined in India. So that's one thing. Is, the more people are still coming online, people are still becoming digitally literate, and people are still coming up in terms of having access to money and the economy, which allows them to have say a Netflix subscription, or some of the more expensive platforms. People are still developing. That audience is still growing, and it's growing with India. So that is one really important thing to keep in mind, is the future growth perspective of the regional language is really important. But when it comes down to the core real difficulty that we face in the fact that people will still take Marathi and say, okay, it's regional, so it's less money, when the cost is barely anything less than the actual, say if it takes 100 rupees to make a Hindi film, it's going to take you 85 rupees to make a Marathi film. But the money you're getting for that Marathi film is going to be 30 rupees. So you have to really fight with people to make them understand that just because it's a regional language does not mean that it's worth less. And as people are watching stuff with subtitles, it's actually the market size for any kind of a good piece of content is as big as any English or any Hindi show.
I feel we should always put out this example of what Korean industry has been able to do in last years, whether it be films, whether it be K-pop, and whether it be K-drama. Who like my niece, she's 15 and she consumes only Korean, Korean food, Korean content, Korean music, and if they can impact so much without any understanding of the language, why can't a regional language in India do it? And it's extremely stupid of people to assume that only Hindi and English is going to work. In fact, people there's a funny incident that had happened to me when I was in Egypt. We are talking to the Egyptians in English. We both are trying to communicate with each other for a long time, and not happening because both of us are bad at English. And at one point, I started speaking to that guy in Marathi, and he started speaking to me in Arabic, and we got everything because you are most comfortable in your own language.
I've just quickly Googled on my phone, what is the size of the Korean speaking population? It's smaller than Marathi. 75 million people speak Korean in the world.
And the impact we have.
Yeah.
And just look at the market size for Korean content.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's the proof in the pudding. If we can take our content to that level, there's no reason why it can't be globally consumed.
Amazing. So Sarang, मला विचारायचं आहे की YouTube series हे नवीन स्टार्ट केलेलं आहे. झूम म्हणा, 9 to 5 म्हणा किंवा चिकट गुंडे म्हणा.
Right.
So do you think YouTube series is going to be the next big thing?
It was actually the next big thing. We are late in the run, but that's the problem with Marathi content industry right now, that the people who need to put their money in the right pocket, they always wait for a proof of concept. And ideally, the idea for Bhadipa was, after first 2 years of completion of Bhadipa, we'll start the YouTube series space. That was the idea, once you have some audience. But again, no one supported us for a longest time, till finally in lockdown, we were like, okay, anyway there are no brands, anyway we are taking risks, then it's high time we take a risk on our dream. Because lockdown was amazing boom time for content industry in terms of growth, but in terms of finances it was a low time, which influx is happening now. So anyway, if money is not coming and we are seeing a growth, then why not use our efforts like in the right place? And that's when we came up with Chikat Gunde. One of our young directors, Abhay Raut, he was directing our sketches and he was tired of doing that. So I was like, you come up with an idea and we'll back it, whatever is the idea. Luckily, we as Bhadipa have done a very interesting thing, that we are the only Marathi content creation company, or I don't know about Hindi, but at least in Marathi, we are the only ones who manage writers. So we have like around 8 to 9 writers who are signed with us, and we manage their work. We look after their legal, we back their scripts and things like that. So as soon as Abhay said, I want to create something like this, as producers, we called these writers and they jumped in. Honestly, we are back in time. We should have done this as an industry 3 years back. But again, as no one was doing it, we had to like an option.
Break the chain. Amazing. So Paula, I would like to ask you that there are various platforms and various features available for content creators recently. So, you know, in even Reels or whatever you consider, there have been constant upgrades to that. So how do you see the future of content creation?
I think one thing that we're definitely seeing is a very powerful wave of the mainstream industry realizing the strength of digital. And that is coming, the proof is in, you know, Prajakta Kohli being the top draw of Netflix. You know, Netflix is casting her in everything because she's got, I don't know how many, 5 million subscribers on YouTube. And so that's why you know, a lot of content is shifting towards digital creators, digital faces, because that's where there has been a lot of innovation in this space. And like Sarang said, proof of concept. And I think that obviously what's been observed in the last couple of years is gaming is obviously taking not just India, but the world by storm. And in terms of, you know, virtual reality and the other kinds of tech platforms and things which are out there, I still don't know. I think I'm personally a little scared of what this world looks like in 15 years as a creator. But I do know one thing is that a story well told is never gonna go out of fashion. So whatever mode you're using to tell that story, whether it be a 10-second video or it be an 8-hour web series or 10-hour film or a series of films, you're going to find your audience. And, people still play records. So, vinyl records have made a big comeback too. So there's always going to be a space.
I feel in terms of future, I think consolidation has started already, and that will happen. There will be lesser chaos. Right now, it's too much chaos. If you want to make short format reels and TikTok videos and this and that, there are at least 15 of those platforms. If you go to OTT, there are 25, 30, I don't know how many. They just keep popping up every day. So eventually they will consolidate, which will be little lesser chaos. I hope that time comes soon, I think.
And today only in the morning when you said about the platforms, kind of virtual reality which is happening, so one of the organizers of Pepper Content, Pawan, he tweeted about his virtual icon along with his ticket. So they had put a ticket and his avatar was there with the ticket for this event. I was like, I was just surprised that even the tickets and everything is going into virtual reality. I was like, I'm interested to know about these NFTs and things which are happening around.
No, I'm hoping that before I get too old, I get to perform like from Mars or something on virtual reality.
Yeah, I'm creating something around virtual reality, which is not possible technically.
Yeah.
So, Sarang, I would like to ask you, you have been the voice to regional content creators and people from remote villages. So you have given them platform for succeeding. So how has that experience been, and why is it important to support growth for these, talented youths, which lack a platform?
Yeah. So it came from all started from Vishay Khol when we started doing that. When we went to different villages and cities across Maharashtra for research, we realized there is very, very less awareness about what is happening in Marathi digital space. Then there was two big breakthroughs. One was Kori Party Productions, who did a series called Gavakadcha Goshti, and Khasare TV, who come from Solapur. They were the first two breakthroughs. Then मग त्याच्यानंतर काय म्हणतात अग्री कॉन्टेंट यायला लागलं, like all those like Varadi content यायला लागलं, and they were growing 10 times at the speed of what we grew.
Correct.
Then we realized that yes, that's the biggest new market, and we just did not follow it or chase it, but also we will not be the right ones to represent it. It's not fair that a guy from Pune who has grown up in an upper class almost society should be making and voicing content about this thing. In fact, there was one article written about Pandu saying that is Bhadipa trying to milk this? And like this whole caste wave and class wave and whatnot, and we are like, no, this came to us, we just backed it. We don't care. It was so beautiful that we wanted to watch it. It had nothing to do with what we wanted, and at that time there was no one who's going to direct it for free. As simple as that. That's why we had to direct it. Else we would have found a director from the community. But we realized that those voices not only are going to open up our content to the world, but secondly, our evolution is going to happen through that. Like the Kande Pohe series that we have started, Kande Pohe, Kothurud versus Solapur, Kothurud. The whole idea behind that is because we are so obsessed as Punekars with Pune, let's represent what happens when a Punekar meets someone else. As simple as that. And that will get both the audience together, watch each other, decide what is going right and what not. And again, n number of collaborations. For Kande Pohe, we have collaborated with content creators from across the state.
Maharashtra.
That was always the idea for Bhadipa, to collaborate with everyone. It just happened that we came from Pune and my friends were from Pune, and initially no one apart from your friends support you. So that's how we had that tag of Puneites, but now we're trying to
Now
like
it's all over. So that's
yeah.
amazing. आणि एक गोष्ट आहे की महाराष्ट्रामध्ये भरपूर असं टॅलेंट आहे, पण प्लॅटफॉर्म्स फार कमी आहेत आणि कोलॅबरेशन जसं म्हणलं की आधी बघायला नाही मिळणार. सो ह्या कारणांनी तरी ऍटलिस्ट कॉन्टेंट क्रिएटर्स पुढे आले आहेत आणि खूप काय काय गोष्टी होत आहेत. सो I think it's very welcoming of both of you to kind of do that. And breaking the chain. So this was my last question, and I'm going to go into the the fun part, which is the rapid fire for both of you. So let's begin with that. So first is Paula. Describe Sarang, Anusha, and yourself in one word.
Gulbadan.
Amazing. Okay, Sarang. Direction, acting, writing. Choose one.
Sorry, what was that?
Direction, acting, writing. Choose one. She said.
Me?
No.
Sarang.
Yeah. Direction.
Amazing. Why so?
Because I failed as an actor. I have 13 unreleased films.
We would like to see that in the viral content.
No, I did a lot of independent cinema, which never made to theater. So anyway, and also I feel like as an actor, there are a lot of insecurities. There is a lot of waiting around, which I'm not up for at this point of life. So so that is out of question. And writing, I think I'm not good with. I have written a lot now. I can't say that I'm not a writer because I've written around 105 videos and 2 series. But it's just that I feel very lazy to write. But direction, I can be on set forever. Like I don't care. So.
Amazing. So that's your passion. That's your zone, which
gets
all the creativity out of you. Okay, so Paula, for you, your favorite merchandise from Bhadipa to date?
Our new Majushinid Bolaitsa t-shirts. You know, it says rule number 1, Majushinid Bolaitsa. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. And I've been wearing this t-shirt at least once a week since I got it. I'm wearing it a lot. I've never worn our merch so much.
But that's very cool and quirky, like that. That's amazing about that whole platform. Okay. So Sarang, for you, recently watched a good and a bad movie. Name both.
So good film, Udham Singh. I really loved it.
It was good.
Yeah, and bad films, if I say, then I might lose a lot of my friends. But bad films, I did mention something recently.
I personally thought 83 was a bad film.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy 83. I thought it did injustice, in fact, to the era than justice.
I need to definitely watch it now. I've not seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Paula, which Marathi word do you use frequently?
Baward.
That's our. We finally have fallen into the trap of making reels. We did that as a joke when lockdown was happening, and those flew so much that like they had good 2-3 million views on every reel. So the first 2-3 that we made, that we are like, okay, this is too easy. We don't want to do this. We forgot about it, but now our company sort of has been nagging us that you have to make reels. And so we went back to making Marathi Babu and Canadian meme. There is a series that we do. And that one each time ends with she calling me Bowet, so she enjoys it.
आणि ते पेट्रोल पंप वाला पण चांगलं होतं, एक्सपेन्सिव्ह गिफ्ट वाला. I know one could have thought about that.
It's gone crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so now think about celebrities you would like to link the hashtags to. Gossip machine. You both can, name one of
Marathi, because our world is that.
Hashtag gossip machine.
Amaya.
That's why he hosts Casting Couch, so that he can gossip about things.
Yeah. Amazing. Hashtag troublemaker.
Lalit Prabhakar.
Yes.
Hands down.
Yes.
आम्ही तो आला की आम्ही पळून जातो. We have to run away from
He's
him.
like a toddler.
Yeah, he's a
Like an
toddler.
angry toddler.
असं वस्तू फेकणार आणि yeah.
Amazing. Hashtag foodie.
Foodie. Marathi foodie. Mahesh Manjrekar. It's like whenever he says, "Will you act in my film?" before the script, I say yes because I know what kick-ass food I'm gonna get on his set.
Yeah. एकदा त्यांच्याकडे बॅकस्टेज गेलेलो तिथे he had the whole platter of
Yeah.
things nicely. He was enjoying every bit of it and he was asking the chef what is this and everything. I completely resonate to that.
And also he gets, like, if there is one platter of food on his set, he will himself get like 10 more dabbas from home. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so Arshi Manus.
Alok Rajwade. Like
Amazing.
he's my favorite actor, and I wish he works 10 times what he's doing right now. But once I had asked him to direct something for Bhadipa, and he said, like, I need to take a break. I just directed something. So I said, when did you direct last? He said 1 year ago. So
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so last hashtag legend.
legend.
Yes.
Prajakta Kohli is a legend, I think.
Yeah.
Honestly, in terms of what she's done as a Maharashtrian, not within the Marathi industry, but as a breakout as an Indian face internationally.
Yeah.
I think she's
And
really
for
good.
me, another Marathi celebrity, and she's a friend, and hope she doesn't watches this because I don't want to praise her on her face, but that's Radhika Apte again.
Yeah.
I feel like she has carved her special place in more in a indie space, and still being a celebrity is difficult. Like, so
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Madhekar, there were hashtags called Ratflix, which started coming because she was phenomenal on all the Netflix series and movies and everything where she was kind of working on. So amazing.
But I just hope she doesn't know that I'm calling her legend.
Hopefully. Okay, so last ending note from my end. How did you find this session? How did you find unfiltered conversations and spending time with us today?
Absolutely enjoyed it. First of all, thank you for asking some really different questions. When you had sent the questions like what is the space and things like that, I was like, see, anyway, whatever we read, it's the same round of questions that we do every interview. We've done so many interviews together that we are used to these questions. But I'm glad that you asked about things like Vishay Khol, about stand-up industry, about the troubles of like the challenges behind such kind of work, and
Marathi producing in Marathi financially. How do you manage it?
Yeah. So thank you for asking amazing questions. As I mentioned earlier, this platform is quite interesting. I'm quite impressed by the platform itself. So thank you for that, whoever created that for the team. And third most important thing, tomorrow is Marathi Bhasha Rajbhasha Din, and we today doing this is very important, though this was mostly in English, but that's because Paula is on board and it's easier that way.
The session is for English audience,
for non-Marathi. But I'm glad that you are honoring Marathi content creators close to Marathi Rajbhasha Din.
But our emotion remains the same, whichever language we choose to speak in. So like our, the devotion towards that. So we will now, Nandini, I think we'll take the Q&A from audience.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Great. First of all, great session, guys. The thing is that we're running a little late, so we might have to cut on the questions from the audience.
Okay.
But everyone who's put up these amazing questions, you could go ahead, you could DM us at the Pepper Content, and we'll be very happy to take these answers from them and definitely pass on to you guys.
Yes.
I hope that works for everyone. And amazing energy. I mean, seeing all of you together, I keep commenting on the chat that, it's an amazing team that, you guys put up. And Devyani, thank you for putting these questions up so well. They were very well curated and asked.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Devyani. Thank you, Nandini.
Thank you
Bye.
guys, everyone. You keep sharing your experiences. Yes, and tag all of us and tell us how was your experience. We'd love to hear. Tag Bhadipa, tag Devyani, tag DP House of Media and Pepper Content. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you,
Bye.
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.